Hey everybody, Minus here from Pantheon Plus, and today we're going to do our first real opinion video now that we've wrapped up the class videos. So it was interesting because, as everybody knows, one of the problems when we do verse videos is that me and Hayah actually agree on too much, which is weird
Most
because,
things.
yeah, and what's interesting is any other time we talk, we hate each other, and we talk, but it's when MMOs come up, we are always aligned. So the most boring video in the world would have been, hey, let's talk PvP and how much we both hate it. Instead, we have two people here that the community should know by this point. We have NathanNAPALM, welcome. And
Hello.
we have Def.
Hey, gang.
And Def's already sworn to me that will be revenge, so I'm excited for that tonight. So here's the deal. We're going to go around here and talk a little bit about our PvP experience. As you can see in the video here, I am adamantly against PvP. Hayah is neutral, sort of, but more on the side of not really being into PvP. And then Nathan and Def are big fans. So this will give us the ability to have a real conversation here. We've all, before this video started, we've all toasted. We're all drinking. And we said, all right, guys, just say what you want, interrupt, and have a good time and defend your side. So we'll see how it goes. So I will go last. So Nathan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience in PvP?
Sure. So my PvP experience started at the very beginning, my very first MMO, which is Ultima Online. It's a very rough PvP system. And then played EverQuest, but didn't do a PvP server there. And then Dark Age of Camelot. That's where it fell into play, where I loved PvP, fell in love with it, loved it ever since. Chased after that dragon for the good PvP since Dark Age of Camelot. And I played it in every game that had it available to some extent. But definitely most of my time PvP was in Dark Age of Camelot.
Def, how about you?
I guess the first sort of PvP experience I saw was in EverQuest when I saw a mage and a wizard dueling outside of Kelethin, and they had a whole group surrounding them, and those two guys became great friends with me, and of course we PvP'd. EverQuest PvP was kind of broken, but it was so new and it was so cool. And then the East Common tunnels, I would see people just going at it, and ever since then I just been kind of into it. And then I went to WoW, was doing arenas, battlegrounds, played every class. I get made fun of because I always make a separate tune just for PvP, and I still play
Legit.
ESO. I still play ESO just for the PvP. So
yeah, ESO has good PvP for modern MMOs for sure.
It is the best.
Cool. Hayah, what are your PvP experiences?
Very little. I find that I've only ever PvP'd when a game would lock certain things behind the rewards from PvPing. So I kind of had to slog through it to get whatever I needed it was, whether it be skills that were locked behind PvP in Blade and Soul, or the legendary currency from WoW and Legion was also, you could get some from PvP there too. And those are my only real, like, if I gotta do it, I'll slog through it, and I don't enjoy any of it.
You never talked to the priest of Discord by accident?
No.
So yeah, I'm very much so like, I probably have a little more experience. If anyone's familiar with Mutilate Rogue in WoW during Lich King, when they weren't played much, it was combat rogues. And I've told this story before, but Mutilate Rogues weren't played a whole lot because the gear was super specific. And if you had it, you were a beast, but it was really hard to get the exact gear you needed. And the offhand dagger was a PvP dagger. And hating PvP, I was like, this is such a joke. So I grinded through to get that offhand weapon, and that's probably the most I've ever PvP'd. And then I did PvP in Blade and Soul, and I will openly say that because my class was the girlfriend class, and it was super easy, I could and in your gear mattered in that game. Unlike other games, like your gear actually had an effect. So I was very highly geared. I was very strong. I could 3v1 people. But it was because my class was super cheese. Like I just hold somebody on the ground with my cat and kill them with a flower. That's my PvP experience. So as you guys see, various forms of PvP here. Obviously, I'm not a big fan. Hayah's not a huge fan. And Nathan and Def, you guys are. So the first thing I want to bring up here then, that's a little bit, and this is probably the question that a lot of our debates are going to go off of. Jump in with your stories, jump in with your thoughts, is, you know, there's a lot of Reddit talk. There's a lot of forum talk, Discord talk about will there be PvP? You know, how are they doing PvP? Every modern MMO needs PvP. I am very highly on the stance that I wish there was zero PvP in Pantheon. We know there will be. Why?
Yeah. Why would you not want there to at least be an option for those that enjoy it?
Because and again, I'm not holding any punches here. So it's a waste of time for the devs. It's a complete waste of time.
How?
MMOs aren't meant to be esports, right? So one of my points that I like to make is, why was EverQuest made? Like, deep down,
so people could explore a world together.
It was D&D, right?
It was
D&D. It was 3D D&D.
In a way. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So in D&D, how often do you PvP?
Oh, I don't know who you play with, but PvP goes down sometimes. Depends on your group, I guess, right?
Maybe. I never saw I never saw the need for PvP in these games at all. And I think that, you know, I know you played Dark Age. I did not play Dark Age game, but there's nothing in the world that would make me play that game. It's obviously heavy PvP, right? So
yeah, I know you didn't play it because you don't like PvP.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it was its entire focus was world versus world PvP, right?
Well,
Or realm versus realm.
No, it was the end game. So you actually had a normal level up experience PvE. You could barely do PvP. There was like little battlegrounds you could go in, not battlegrounds where it was matched. It was just like an open world dungeon where you just went in and whoever was there, you could PvP with them. But you it was very, you couldn't do it a lot. You couldn't level up that way. So you had to PvE to end game. And then it was this huge new map, and it was nothing but PvP.
So in Dark Age,
I got a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, why do you think Pantheon or any modern MMO should not have PvP?
Well, I think it takes away from what the game is made for. That's my honest opinion. I think that in an MMO, so let's talk. And I know a lot of people get mad that I talk WoW so much, but it's what I played the most. And let's be honest, PvP in WoW was an entire culture, right? It drove esports. We can say that maybe it did have some effect on driving the popularity of the game. So in WoW, and I'm estimating, so when everyone jumps on me for my numbers here, just whatever, but the world was massive, right? Massive. You had continents, expansion areas, like zones everywhere in WoW. And you had, like, at one point you had 3 battlegrounds. You had Arathi Basin. You had, what's the one where you had to capture the camp and stuff?
Ottric Valley.
Yeah, and then and what else was there? There was one more. Am I missing?
Warsong Gulch.
Yeah, Warsong Gulch. So you had 3. At one point, you had 3 areas that were PvP. Now I get that you can get on a PvP server, but most of the PvP was done in those battlegrounds and in 1 or 2, 3 different arena looks. Like you had the sewer one and that. It's literally 6 tiny little zones in a massively produced game, and you have people sitting in there stroking it off because they want to be at the top of a leaderboard.
Yeah, you're talking about the lame version of PvP, though.
Well,
I'm talking about we've been talking about open world PvP, which did happen in WoW, and people loved that. You know, where it was just Horde versus Alliance.
Ottric Valley was a pretty big map, bro.
Yeah,
and those would go on for hours and hours. And if I'm not
was
mistaken,
that fun
back
though?
in vanilla.
Did you have fun when someone would turtle in AV for you could log off?
It was fun when you won, bro.
It was fun when you won.
It was worth it after 6 hours of slogging through. Yes.
Hayah, you don't even know.
Here's my thing. I don't like. I'm not a FPS guy. Instead of player versus player on a shooter game, I would rather use my skills and ability to counter other players and piss them off. I like rooting other players. I like stunning them. I like interrupting their spell casting and finding a way to defeat them instead of just your standard shooter game. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about PvP.
Sure. And so going back on AV, there was a time period when you would be in AV, you would pretty much have the win, and the opposing side would turtle. You could log in the next day, and that fight would still be going on. What do you get? Like, I guess my question is, I don't understand what you get out of PvP.
Okay, I can definitely answer that. All right, so check this out. You're talking about instance PvP where it tries to make everything all balanced
You
and
can
fair.
openly talk about open world. That's fine.
Yeah, I've got to talk
include
about
it.
open world because I'll play it if it's available and that's all they got, right? I'll play instance PvP. But what I like is an open world environment where there is many factors. Let me explain why I really like that. Number one, the world becomes even more dangerous because you have to look out for human beings who are crafty and smart and trying to kill you and steal your stuff or trying to kill you just for the experience points or whatever they get out of that particular game. So it makes the world so much more dangerous. You are freaking out. You don't want to solo. You do not want to go out and solo. You want friends. You want your posse with you. You want people to have your back. So you're even more careful. The world is so much scarier. And when you go out and, let's say you go out to your group and you see another group and you're like, should we attack them? You think they're cool? Do you think they're coming after us? And they start getting, they start coming a little close. And then you have this whole tension situation. And then you go to war with them. And the coolest thing is when you're actually outnumbered and you still kick their ass and you still win. And then you're like, dang, dude, this is a solid group. We played well together. And we're not going against a raid here. We're not going against an NPC with certain behaviors we've learned. These are humans that play however they want to play, and you have no idea what they're going to do. So that's the ultimate content for an MMORPG player is the unknown.
Oh, I disagree so much. Saying that PvP is the ultimate content of an MMO makes me want to puke. I love you, Nathan, but it makes me want to puke.
Now,
go ahead.
We're talking about MMOs here, not Pantheon. Now, Pantheon has a lot of cool features, but MMOs before Pantheon in the age we're in now, yes, I would say that's true.
Cyrodiil in ESO is kind of my closest experience to what you were just explaining, Nathan, and I freaking loved it. You're out there in the open world. You don't know, people that have like rogues, stealthy type people, man, you got to be on your toes. It's awesome, and it feels like all-out war. You have to destroy the castles and defend the castles. That shit's badass, man.
And I'd just like to say for anybody that doesn't know, the ESO's PvP that he's talking about, Cyrodiil, is, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but it's very similar to Dark Age of Camelot because Dark Age of Camelot had 3 rounds fighting each other. So does ESO, et cetera, et cetera. You're taking over keeps, blah, blah, blah. So they are very similar.
It's very, very difficult for me to, and the question I'll always ask is, if you want a full fleshed out player versus player experience, why do you need the leveling, right? So one of the reasons that MOBAs took off is, in my opinion, is because of MMOs. I think it branched off of MMOs. And what it did was got rid of the MMO part and just let you do the combat style. And I will never play it. I played a little bit of Heroes of the Storm just because sometimes I got free stuff in WoW and whatever. But the simple fact of the matter is that I have never played an MMO, especially as a PvEer. So I'm a hardcore PvEer, where PvP hasn't negatively affected me in pretty much every single way.
I can attest to that. And for what you were saying, where you have your group and you roll up and there's another potentially hostile group going on, there are other games that do that so much better, and that's their sole focus. I don't need that in my MMO. Like, I just want to go and handle this camp. I don't want to have to worry about
what game does it so well, though.
It's any other game that has a kind of a survival aspect to it. There are numerous games like that.
I'll be an asshole. How about Street Fighter? Now, I know, and listen, I get it. That sounds really stupid, you guys, but at the end of the day, most people I've come across who PvP want to tell me how good they are at it. Like, everyone. Like, I have met the world's #1 paladin 7 million times.
Well,
on my server, I was #1 at this. Cool. Who the hell are you?
People are dicks, man. There are, people that aren't dicks. You know what I'm saying?
That's one thing we may actually all agree on, is that people are dicks, right?
Yeah, so I played Dark Age Camelot a really long time, and I was never the best, I don't believe, at absolutely anything. However, I learned how to survive. I learned when to run. I learned when to fight. and I learned who I could fight and who I could not fight. I learned who I had strengths against, so I was able to thrive in the game. I definitely wasn't the best. I know that for a fact.
I want to follow up on that. The challenge of it, because I am not the greatest PvPer myself, and I would get better and better. I would figure out when to use what ability, you know, and it would make me into a better PvPer, you know, and that's one of the thrills I like about it.
But I think it directly hurts PvE. So
Why?
Okay, so I'll use an example. When I would run raids and we would have to pug, and we'd get a guy who's like, well, you know, I'm really good at PvP. His gear is really good because some of the PvP gear was able to be used, or he had okay gear, but I really know my class. And they suck at PvE. They're horrible because the PvE content does not play to the core of the game at all, and it drives me insane. And like it's like it's so soloistic. Yes, you do have your groups like you guys kind of said, and I'll give you some credit. I will cave this much on the open world PvP, but PvP does not help PvE, and PvE doesn't really help. It's like two games. It's like taking a genre, and let's be clear, what started this genre? We can debate Ultima, we can debate EverQuest. I'm always on the EverQuest side. EverQuest was much different than Ultima.
Yeah, I would agree. What we're looking forward to, everybody here,
Yeah.
Pantheon,
It's
no
more
doubt. EverQuest, not UO.
So the granddaddy, the visionary that created MMOs, did it and said, we want this massive world where the players get together and they fight and they go, and there was a great community. And I get that there were PvP servers, but they were completely separate, and they were much lesser than the PvE servers. So you had all this great. What's the best community outside? What's the best community you guys have ever been a part of? Original EQ. Is that debatable even?
No.
Play nice policies.
No, I would actually debate that maybe, because I didn't play EQ. I didn't know what I was doing when I played EQ, and I moved on. So I would say no. I wouldn't say EQ was the best community I was a part of.
Okay,
wouldn't
what
say
would
that.
be for you?
I would have to say EQ was for me. So many people would help you out. There was no streamlined internet or YouTube back in the day, so you relied on people to help you. And yeah, but they were dicks too.
Yeah, I had a and I accepted it back then, right? And when I went back to EQ, it was totally different. But when I first started playing EQ, I had a very kind of the start was good, but when I actually started getting into groups content, I had a very rough start. Like, people were rude. I was accepting of it at that time because I was like, you know, UO people were really rough too. Didn't want to group with you and that kind of thing. So it wasn't that crazy. But when I went to actually the first game I found a good community in was Final Fantasy 11.
Another game that was sort of like EQ, right? Hard.
Yeah. Oh, it's copying EQ. Totally.
Was there even PvP in Final Fantasy?
There was, but it wasn't that great.
See, so and when I think about the games that have lasted the longest, it's the ones that were the furthest from PvP.
Well, that might be
WoW.
true.
Except WoW.
That might be true. But I wouldn't say. Would anybody actually argue that WoW is really PvP focused?
You have to,
this point?
because they became an esport.
Was it?
They
Okay.
became an
Oh,
esport.
yeah, you're right.
I think
Okay.
for a huge population of WoW players, PvP is the central focus.
See, I don't know if I can
I
say
will-
huge. I don't know if I
will
can say huge. Yeah.
I will say this: the only reason I would ever go back to WoW is for PvP. I loved it, absolutely loved it.
And here's the other thing about PvP. So, like, the game has all these classes and all these gear sets in this, before Battle for Azeroth. But you had these tier sets and these weapons that did special things and legendary. None of it works in PvP. Leveling doesn't even matter in PvP. Like, nothing mattered. The whole game.
Gear.
What's that? Yeah. The whole game didn't matter. And PvP was a separate thing, and I get it. And a lot of people that are watching say, well, WoW's not the greatest game. I get it. But it was the most popular, and it was an esport. And nothing in the actual game really mattered. And that drives me crazy.
See, here's the deal. World of Warcraft, I don't care if it's popular or not, it did not have good PvP, dude. I would have been there if it did. I would have been playing it if it did. It did not, and that's why I ran away. It had PvP, and it worked because there was so many people, and so it was okay. But dude, Dark Age of Camelot was killing World of Warcraft on the actual gameplay of PvP.
See, and I never played Dark Age, so I can't attest to that. But I will say the WoW PvP, it's what kept me in the game.
So this is an interesting. So I'm cheating a bit here because I'm working on a side project here, and
Of course.
so Dark Age of Camelot was released in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they were I guess they were kind of the first game that did the realm versus realm versus realm PvP.
Right, three teams, fighting.
And their max, they sold their biggest grouping of people playing was within the first 5 years. So in the first 5 years, and this is an estimate, they sold about 780,000 copies. So they never hit 1 million, at least in the first 5 years, and I'm pretty sure like, they never really had like 1 million.
That was a different time, though. You got to consider the time frame. Nobody had really broken these $1 million concurrent users into World of Warcraft.
Well, not really. So EverQuest at peak.
That's
okay. So EverQuest. No, you're right. EverQuest at peak at one time had 550,000, which was probably a lot bigger than Dark Age. But do you know that Phantasy Star Online had 1 million people? That they sold 1 million copies quick.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because a lot of people probably don't even put that game into the MMO category, but it was a really big game. Yeah. And I'm cheating.
I had a lot of fun with that game.
It was a good game. So I have a direct quote from the developer of that game. And this is me cheating again a little bit. So I want to read this because it's pretty cool. Well, it's a paraphrase in a sense.
Okay.
So when they put out the beta for Phantasy Star Online, it had a PvP mode. So the testers actually played PvP in that game.
Interesting. Okay,
and it was removed because the quote was, it distracted players from the cooperative focus and introduced game balance issues.
Yeah, no doubt.
So a lot of what I'm saying is like that quote is why I hate it. I hate it because
yeah, sure. It's going to mess up the balance of the game because the game is built for PvE, and then you have to do a separate balancing for PvP, which is exactly, by the way, what Brad McQuaid said they're going to do for Pantheon. It will be separate balancing for the PvP.
I was about to say, a new game can take the mistakes of other games and figure out how to, the right way to go about it.
Sure. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you out, Minus. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it. Screw it. Why not? I'm going to throw you some ammunition in the fire, okay?
Oh, boy.
So Brad McQuaid himself, which anybody watching this video is going to be a huge fan of him, surely to God, or you're stupid.
MC or?
No, McQuaid, the real deal. When they were working on EverQuest, right? And they were like, we got to have some PvP. People like PvP. UO's doing the PvP. So they're like, let's take a look at UO and see how the PvP is going.
So shit show.
And they're like, holy hell, we can't put this in our game. This is terrible. Like, who would want to do this? People are losing their stuff. They're getting robbed. They're getting ganked. They're walking out into the out in the world like, yeah, I'm going on an adventure, getting mauled by 20 people and their little tiny bit of good that they have stole. Yeah, like, they're like, we can't do this. This is crazy. So that, they just decided to take a totally different approach to PvP, which I respect because UO was crazy. That's why it was fun, because it was crazy, just like real life. Like, it was
are you wild. Are you guys fans of? I'm sure at one point we've all console gamed, right?
Oh yeah.
Are you guys fans of Xbox Live achievements? And they did it first, so I know Sony has it, but Xbox started achievements. Let's remember that
Gamer Score,
yeah,
Game Score,
yeah, Gamer Score and achievements. That was started by Microsoft. Do you guys like it?
I was addicted to it back then.
I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me.
I don't care anymore. I used to when it was a new thing. I was like, cool, I want to have a good gamer score,
Yeah.
But here's what I did like about it, though. I did like this. You guys will know what I'm talking about. Real gamers will understand this. So, you know how you would have those friends who would say they beat every game you played?
You could check
and they didn't. They were lying. Like, you would ask them questions and they wouldn't know nothing about it. I liked it because you could look it up and be like, dude, you're freaking lying. You did not beat that game.
You have 10 achievement points.
Right. I did like it for that.
So the reason I bring that up is because I would say that 90%, if you add achievement points in, 90% of games are competitive. Uncharted,
Even single players, yes.
Yeah, even single, like Uncharted could be competitive because you didn't collect all this thing that you found, and I'm the best, and here's what I. Everything is competitive.
Yeah, that's what keeps people playing.
See, and I disagree. I think that when I think back to gaming on NES, what kept me playing was sitting by my buddy and playing together, or like playing an RPG back in the day, and one guy would have the strategy guide and one guy would be playing, and then you'd rotate, and it was like this
pilot and the navigator.
Wait a minute though. Wait a minute before you go too far in that direction. You guys at the same time will be competing over who gets the resources, who has the better score, who gets the final shot on the boss. You totally competed
because we'd be playing the same game. Like, because back then you didn't have two controllers. So back then it was really just about beating it.
Wait, what are you talking about? The NES?
No, just like anything, like RPG wise and stuff. So like Final Fantasy VII. Like I played that with a buddy, and we'd rotate. And
you mean rotating? I'm sorry.
Yeah, like rotating. Because the whole playing together thing in role playing games came pretty late. Like what, GameCube maybe started that?
I thought we were just talking about random games. I didn't even know we were talking about RPGs.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. Yeah. So my whole thing is like there's so much content out there that's PvP. And Call of Duty. Battlefield.
Hang on though. Here's the thing I'm addicted to. I'm not addicted to killing other people. I'm addicted to living in a world. Well, it is fun killing people, but it's cool to live in a world where there's this whole ecosystem, there's this whole everything, there's mobs to fight, there's all this stuff and gear to get, and I'm living with these people and I'm fighting those people. And they're part of the world too. And I'm not just going out and fighting them. It's not like Street Fighter where I'm just loading up a match. I'm in the world and I could come across them.
And I know PvPers are going to crush me for this because I'm being very widespread, but it's always about how great you are. It's always like, I'm so much better than X. No, and it's the people that, in my opinion, if you take the toxicity level of a basic PvPer and a basic PvEer, the PvPer is by far a higher part of the toxic community. By far.
No doubt. And that's by nature for people who that's the reason for that isn't because everybody who PvPs is toxic. The reason for that is there's a lot of toxic people, obviously, when you're talking about a situation where you can take advantage of somebody. Def, right? And PvP allows you to do that. So
but if I was PvPing and I killed a whole entire group, I'm going to be bragging about it a little bit, Like, heck yeah, it's hard. It's
you gonna teabag people?
Huh?
Will you teabag people after you kill them?
Maybe. Just me off enough. No, but I'm just saying there's that sense of challenging. I just don't know how PvP would break Pantheon. Isn't that what this video is about?
I mean, in a sense, is it needed? And I mean, at the end of the day, we're not deciding that, and it's kind of been decided that it's going to be like a very side thing.
Yeah.
But this is more like the whole community really talking about this subject over and over. If it doesn't have PvP, I'm not going to play it. Peace.
That's silly.
Bye.
Yeah, that's silly. So I just want to say that I did not come into Pantheon wanting PvP. I hope it has it because it would be cool to have that option for sometimes. But until it has a dedicated actual system for PvP, I'll just play around with it, Yeah, I'm much more interested for Pantheon than PvE. Because, yes, you can be a PvP player and love PvP, but you can love PvE as well. I do, anyway.
And maybe they'll have a dedicated server just for PvP.
They are going to, yeah. That was announced. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. So, there you go.
But isn't that then a waste of resources and time and other things that could be used for the people who want to play the PvE, which are going to be the majority?
Yeah, so I don't think they should waste their time on PvP. I'm not lying. I think it should be an afterthought at first. It really should until they get the funding and they get the money and they get their team big. Yeah. I don't care about PvP. I want Pantheon to be successful, and PvP is not going to make Pantheon successful. Nobody's in it for that. So yeah, don't waste your resources on it right now.
I would argue that not only is it not going to make Pantheon successful, that it will make Pantheon less successful for
No.
every little bit they put in.
No.
You mean for just even having the option
Yeah.
of PvP will not
I do.
hurt sales?
No.
Because
way.
those people are going to be a voice, and that voice is counterproductive to the goal of why
Nope.
Pantheon was created.
Not in Pantheon, because it's separate from the PvE. As he
So
stated,
is it
like,
in
and he made
WoW?
it very clear. He made it very clear that he's going to have PvE and PvP, and he's made it very clear that PvP is not a main focus. But he said later we'll look at that. We'll add things like not battlegrounds. We'll add things like towers and keeps you can take over.
So are you okay
et cetera, et cetera.
waiting 2-3 patches to get a really important PvE patch because they're fixing the PvP server?
No, and that's not the case though. You got to figure that balancing. You're talking about balancing for PvP, right? That's all they'd have to do,
But
and
do
then
you
add in a couple
think-
of features.
So if they decide to balance PvP, and I'm going to use WoW as an example, and the reason I'm using WoW and everyone gets mad, I'm going to use WoW as an example because they have more money than God, right?
Yeah.
In the development.
They don't
community.
spend it well, but okay.
But they have, yeah, I agree. And they came out finally with, we're going to have a PvP talent. It took till BFA. It took till BFA. We're going to have a separate set of abilities for PvP that we can tweak for PvP. It still didn't work. You were still
everybody
getting
complained
PvE
about
nerfs,
it.
and you were still getting PvE nerfs. Like, you're running with your guild. You're like, and that's the big thing to me. Like, I'm a guild guy. We're gonna have an upcoming video about what we want in guilds. But I am such a guild person. Like, the number one thing that a game needs to be successful in this genre right now, and Pantheon, if you're listening, you need to have the most robust guild system ever, and you have to have a reason to stay in. And if you're in for a year, you get something for it. If you're in for 2 years, you get something for it. You need a progression within guild to make it important to be in a guild. PvP, number one, does not make it important to be in a guild. And
Nope, you're wrong. I
Okay,
disagree with
yeah,
that. 100%.
Okay.
My guild in WoW, we had Monday Night Battlegrounds, man, and we had a blast.
And in Dark Age of Camelot, our guild had great honor in going out in the battlefield, taking over a keep in the frontier and flying our guild flag right there. And that keep was our responsibility to keep the enemies out of it. And that was fun. It was cohesive. We worked together and we took shifts.
Okay,
it was
so
serious.
what did you get though? So the sense of accomplishment is important. I don't want to take that down a notch. But what do you get out of PvP? Like,
You get separate. See, it has to be a separate
What do you
system.
get
Okay.
out of Street Fighter? What do you get out of Call of Duty? What do
Not
you
much.
get out of Halo?
not
What
much.
do you get out of a
And it's
raid?
why I don't play them for hundreds of
For
hours.
that, yeah, it's not the same dedication you put into an MMO.
Like,
What
I'll
do you
play
get
Street
out of
Fighter.
finally beating a PvE raid?
That's huge.
What do you get?
What do I get?
Uh-huh.
So, watching a friend, right? A friend, and I'll give a great example. In our guild in WoW, we had people that were various levels of performance. We had, and no joke, we had people that were in the top 5%, right? WoW logs, top 5%. We had people who were in the bottom 10%.
Bragging like a PvPer, bro.
No, I'm not saying me. I'm saying we had those people, and we had good call, and we
I
had
got
the bottom
Well
people.
played.
And Hayah, you can 100%.
Absolutely, I was
You
gonna
can
bring this up
verify
too.
this. Yeah. So we got stuck, and I'm going to use an exact fight so that this is a real story. We got stuck on Fallen Avatar Heroic when it was really hard in Legion, and we knew because we had read it was the Guild Destroyer. It was so hard. People were just, it's too hard. I'm leaving. Blah blah blah. And we were stuck. We were stuck for weeks on this fight, and we literally, because the top 5%ers were so toxic, we kicked them out. Because they wanted to remove the bottom 10%ers, and they were like, this is why we're not doing it. I'm like, no, it's not. People need to do mechanics. It's not because they're bottom 10% in performance. It's because no one's doing mechanics. We kicked those people. The guild went into a disarray. Like, how could you kick our best people? And the next week, we beat it.
Nice.
The next week. Because
Nice.
it's about, I play an MMO's underlying fact, and I would challenge anybody to argue with me, is that you are a team of players going after a massive world to achieve beating the developers. And that
Amen.
that moment to me
You're
of
not
seeing
wrong there.
players who joined our guild being like, oh, I can't raid, I can't do that, I'm not good enough. And to see them, we achieved, and again, there's going to be Mythic Raiders who are like, heroic, but we achieved every single ahead of the curve since our guild started with people who came in saying they couldn't raid. That to me is everything. That's the whole reason
that's
I
awesome.
That's
Yeah, I
the whole reason
definitely
I
wouldn't
play.
argue. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but at the same time, when you got a good team like our guild on our rated battlegrounds and WoW, you know, we had to work together. We had to achieve goals and strategize and work on communication to defeat the other team. You know what I mean? It's not as satisfying as what you're saying, but I'm just saying there is a sense of satisfaction in PvP.
And it depends on the PvP too, because like for example, you know, there's got to be some Dark Age Camelot people out there watching this, so they'll know what I mean. I played Albion, right? Not the greatest team, not the side that wins most of the time, kind of the underdog. Midgard was definitely the one, you know, mainly ruling everything. So taking their piece of the pie, and you're saying there's no reward, but if the game is built correctly, like, okay, in Dark Age Camelot, if we were winning the war, right, we got access to a dungeon that was only accessible to the person winning the war, right, and it was called Darkness Falls. So we could go in there and get massive amounts of loot, massive amounts of treasure, and it led us back to PvE. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we'd be PvPing to get the right to do some really cool PvE. That's because Dark Age Camelot had an awesome freaking system back in the day that promoted both. Not so much anymore, but at that time it was. So there was plenty of rewards besides your guild owning a keep, which was a big deal. But
how did you guys feel though when you? So I would imagine that even though you guys both like PvP, you were also into PvE. A lot.
Oh, I love PvE.
So I would say none of us are against PvE.
I'm more of a PvE fan than I am a PvP.
Yeah, I think we all are. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
But if I get an ability to fear a mob and then I get to fear a real person and piss them off, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Good dude. So my whole thing is this. When you're PvEing and you're playing a class, so the other thing too is the whole MMO processes are going to make all these classes that have a role in the world, and some are going to be better than others in certain scenarios. And a lot of people, Nathan, you're a great example. You always play Paladin, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what. Yep. It doesn't matter if it's the best. PvPers only play what's on the top of the charts. So not only that, and again, I'm generalizing, but PvPers are so about being the best that they're hurting the game because they're just stacking the classes that are good. And then what happens is us PvEers who are running around loving our class because we're dedicated to the game, we're dedicated to the world, we're dedicated to the lore, we're dedicated to, like Hayah is always a monk, right? We get penalized for loving the game because, oh no, monks are OP in PvP. And I get what you guys are saying, that it can be different.
It should be separate.
Show me one game that says it's separate and it stays separate, because you always get penalized.
Where a sweeping PvP change hasn't affected a PvE player in some way, shape, or form.
And that's something that they'll have to look at.
Yeah, they're going to have to keep it completely separate. And I think that's one of the revolutionary things Brad McQuaid's talking about PvP, is he's saying straight up, nobody's ever even said that straight up. Like, these are separate things. They've always said, oh, we'll handle it with gear. Oh, we'll handle it with changing and adding PvP type abilities that they can unlock.
Penetration
Bullshit.
And stuff. Yeah.
It ruins everything.
Versatility.
Has to be separate. Has to be separate. The only reason, I'm going to say this, and this is going to piss off some Dark Age Camelot fans, but it's true. Sorry, guys. The only reason Dark Age Camelot got away with what they did, and everybody says it was so balanced, it wasn't, but it was decently balanced, is because they just didn't give a shit. The PvE was important, but obviously the end game was PvP.
So everything I hear about that game is PvP, though.
That's because it's all it is now. It used to not be.
But what was the was there PvP? So
yes,
that game,
there was an EverQuest type PvE.
But did it matter? Like, do you have memories about the single player?
We went on raids, PvE raids, Darkness Falls, the dragon fights, etc. So there was PvE, and we loved it.
Would you consider that? And let's take WoW out because
WoW's not a.
WoW's
the crappiest example, I feel like, for PvP.
Do you think that game Do you think there's ever been an MMO that focused on PvP as its main thing? And I know Pantheon's not, so this is a little off topic,
Right.
but do you ever think
Right.
that there's an MMO that was an MMO? It was a leveling system and a character race and roles that actually was successful because they focused on PvP.
No, I think Dark Age of Camelot was the most successful.
Maybe EVE
for that.
Online?
Oh, well, I didn't play that, so I can't comment. But yeah, sure, definitely EVE Online.
But I would argue that EVE Online is so different than a standard MMO.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you can't lump it in the same category
Yeah.
almost because it's too different.
So
I agree.
it's just interesting to me because I do,
Nobody's tried though. That's where I want to point out that
Yeah.
they've thrown
did.
they've
They
thrown
did.
it in.
Shadow
Who? Shadowbane.
Shadowbane was
Shadowbane.
strictly PvP, wasn't it? I mean, that
It was
all about
only PvP. But see, they didn't take the right path. See, Dark Age of Camelot took the right path.
Was
We
it
couldn't-
Anarchy Online was the first one that had like an actual ranking system, I think.
I didn't see. I only like medieval types, so I avoided Anarchy Online.
That's fair.
It was an oddity. I'll give you that.
But see, here's where there's a couple of reasons people screw up when they do their PvP. All right, a couple of these things World of Warcraft did do correctly for a while. I don't know about today, but
They don't do much.
number one,
They don't do much well right now.
but number one, in Dark Age
Sad.
Camelot, you could only play with your faction, right? You couldn't play with the other factions. You played with yours, and the story led you to believe that the other factions were evil, and it would explain to you why. It would brainwash you. So by the time you got to see one of these guys, you'd be like, "Man, screw you guys!" Like, I've been playing the story, and you guys are assholes. I'm gonna kick
The
your ass.
propaganda machine worked.
Yes, it worked. And by the time you seen them, they were the worst, most despicable thing on the planet, and it did that for everybody, though. So, and you couldn't talk to them, so there was no shit talking. And you're talking about teabagging earlier. There was no time for teabagging in Dark Age Camelot. You would get your ass stomped for even trying to take the time to do that. So, it was very respectful. As a matter of fact, when you 1v1 somebody in Dark Age of Camelot and you won, and trust me, I lost probably most of the time. I was a paladin. They're not known for their PvP abilities. They would bow to you. They'd be like, "Good match," appreciate
That's
it.
so
Then they would
far and
run.
few between.
Then they would run.
That is so far and few between in this day and age. So what I was going to say before is, so what's everyone's biggest fears about Pantheon, right? It's non-instance raids, like, and how today's people versus 1999 people we're all much bigger assholes than we were in 1999. Right? So everyone's fear is that the play nice policies, and I say that because anyone who plays these has played EQ knows what I'm talking about. The play nice policies were, some people will say they're enforced, but they weren't really enforced. It was like, hey, here's what we think, and everyone said, well, we don't want to get in trouble, so most people policed themselves. Most.
Yeah.
Sure, GMs had to step in from time to time. But so everyone's fear is okay, that worked in 1999, and that's what the big fear about Pantheon is it's not going to work in 2019. And it's going to be difficult. I agree with that sentiment. It's going to be hard to get a community back because MMOs have gotten away from community. PvP is in no way, shape, or form an assistance to trying to get back to that time.
No, it's a step back.
Yeah, okay. Straight up, okay, it depends on how you look at that. So if it's straight up anybody versus anybody like they're talking about launch, I won't be doing that. No, that's not good. That's not healthy. But a structured PvP actually makes people behave even better because they feel even more of a part of more because they're part of a faction, plus a part of a guild, plus a part of the group, et cetera, et cetera. So it just adds another layer. But no, versus everybody like UO, no. Destroys community.
So now here's my question. So Pantheon is making a PvP server, and everyone's like, well, they're keeping it separate. This is great. They're going to have a voice, and they're going to bitch, and they're going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
Because the biggest bitchers and criers are PvPers.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm going to say it.
No. You're almost correct. The biggest bitchers and criers are the versus everybody, let me steal their shit PvPers, not the real people who want to go out with groups and have fun and go against a common enemy, but the people who just want to kill everybody. Those are the assholes. And they'll be on that server.
like there's toxic, like every PvPer is
I
toxic.
do.
I'm a PvPer. I'm not toxic.
Yeah.
Nathan's a PvPer. You know
Def,
what I mean?
I have videos of
There
you
are
screaming and
toxic
swearing.
PvEers as well, bro. I'm telling you, it's not just every PvPer is
Yeah.
a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Right.
I get it.
Um,
And trust me, like I said,
sorry to yell at you
I'm
there.
super biased. I hate it. And my biggest fear is
but
that
do you
if
hate
there's
it because you're not into it?
Yes.
Or do you hate it? Okay.
two things. Yes, I'm not into it. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm not into it. So for me, I'm not into it, I don't want it, right? But the fear, especially in Pantheon, is that because there's going to be a server, you have now created a PvP voice. So now that you've created a PvP voice, you have given people who want PvP a reason to complain. If Pantheon came out and there was no PvP, there'd be people who complain, but it would go away because it's not there. But you have said, I don't want to have PvP. It's not our main focus. It will not be that balanced. It's not going to be what we look at. Okay, cool. But you're also shooting yourself in the foot because you've created a server of people who are going to be doing it and complaining that it's not good enough.
Okay, I agree with you there, actually. Yeah, there will be people who will complain it's not good enough because it will be an after, right? And they're making it very clear, and it doesn't matter. Just like they make it very clear they're not going to announce the alpha date. And every damn time they ask a question, somebody's like, when's the alpha? It's like, good God, they're not going to answer that question right now, you know?
Very good.
So, same thing with the PvP. No matter how
Do you
clear
think
they
they're
make
strong
it.
enough? Do you guys think, in Def you too, do you think that VR is strong enough to just resist and not care?
I don't think any company could just not care about such a vocal minority, majority, whatever you want to call them, that's going to want the
And when they've
that
enabled
business.
it, they're doing it to themselves.
Yeah, and they've
But how
allowed
does that
it,
affect
yes.
you, though? But how does that affect you as a PvE player?
It affects
Totally
me
different
when
server.
I jump onto, in this case, when I jump onto Reddit or I jump onto the forums and I have to go through 7,000 posts of bitching PvPers, which creates a negative community
minute.
for people trying
Wait
to
a
come in.
minute. Wait a minute. You're complaining about going on Reddit and having to sort through bitching?
Okay, no, hang on, Nathan. So
That's
I'm Joe
part of the-
Noob, and I'm looking at Pantheon for the first time, right? And then I
Okay.
hop on there, and I'm like, "Hey,
Def,
what's
we can't
Pantheon
post
about?"
on Reddit anymore.
And then I see all of this vitriol about how terrible PvP is in Pantheon and how it's garbage and the devs are stupid and loud, and I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't
Yeah,
even
think
want
of
to
the
look at
new
it.
gamer.
Then they can just go.
That's
I mean,
only a PvPer, though. And if the PvP is terrible, maybe they
No.
shouldn't come to
No.
Pantheon.
No, but you never
It's
know if
not the
that guy
PvP.
who Joe Noob is looking at the stuff and doesn't want anything to do. You never know if that guy's going to be your best friend in a year and a half.
I
Or if
think
he's gonna
VR is
be,
gonna
you know-
Go ahead,
very
Def. Go ahead,
stern.
Def.
Oh, I think VR is going to be very stern. I think they're looking at everything from past games. I think they're going to have a balance, and I'm just guessing.
You think
They're
it's going to be a balanced PvP?
I think with them having, if you said it's announced already that they're going to have a server. What is
They
Why
kind
can't
of said
they-
that they're not balancing it.
okay?
Yeah, at
Well-
first. What they said was
Yeah, at
later on, when they do balance it, and they come up with more things for PvPers to do, such as taking over certain areas or keeps or towers and making it, more competitive, good versus evil kind of thing, that they would, when they balance the PvP server, it would only be for the PvP server, not affecting the PvE server.
And then you don't have to worry about the PvPers, shitting on your parade, bro. Because they can make changes to that server and that server only.
But
But
again, it goes back to the whole statement of every time in any
Wasting
game
time.
I've ever played. Well, waste of time is a big one. But in every game I've ever played, when they said it won't affect PvEers, it does.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I'll fight
No.
for PvP all day, every day, guys. Every day, right? But you'll notice, and my followers already know, I've picked another battle for PvP, right? Like I'm hoping Camelot Unchained, the guy that made Dark Age of Camelot, that's my savior for PvP. Now, I love Brad McQuaid much more than this guy. And I trust Brad
This
McQuaid
guy.
way more than this guy, right?
This
And
dude.
I'm looking forward to Pantheon way more than Camelot Unchained. I trust Pantheon way more than Camelot Unchained. I'm not coming to Pantheon for PvP. If later on down the road it just so happens they have a cool looking PvP server, I'll play around on it. I'll dick around. I'll have fun. I'll kill some people or get killed by people more likely, and all that. But Brad McQuaid does not like PvP. I really don't think he does.
What
I'm
are you
going to
saying,
be
Def?
honest.
Oh, I'm 100% with Nathan on that. I'm not getting into Pantheon for PvP.
Right.
There's other games for that. I have a PvP tune on another game. I can hop on. I may try Camelot out, and that would be my fix.
Yeah, and it's a very temporary fix. Let's be honest. Like, that's the problem with PvP games is they try to go all in PvP or all in PvE. PvP is just one of those things you want to jump in, you want to have some fun, you want to get killed 100
Change
times,
up
or
a little bit.
yeah, and then go back to PvE and go back to doing your stuff. Like, it's not, for most people, something you want to do all day, every day. And the people who do want to do it all day, every day are those toxic people that you keep saying that we are. Those are those kind of.
I did not point at Nathan Napalm.
All PvPers, bro.
Okay, so
you PvPers.
Nathan, let me follow up on that and say, does that fix you need to have? Does that have to be in the same MMO you're playing to do the PvE stuff in, or
It doesn't.
Can you just do it in another?
But it's awesome when it is, though. And here's why: because I really just want to play one MMO, man. We've been jumping around, playing this one, playing that one, getting, I just want to play one, and I would love for it to have everything, but it's okay if it doesn't. If Pantheon comes out and the PvP sucks, terrible things that I probably shouldn't say on this video, then that's okay. I'll find my PvP fix somewhere else as long as it can get the PvE right. Cool. That's what I expected it to do.
Because I really enjoy taking a break from my progression in PvE sometimes. If I don't have a lot of time to game, I could do a battleground or arena or whatever that Pantheon may have, and it's just kind of just jump in and kill other players and teabag them,
Yeah.
Kind of look forward to it.
So, Minus, you telling me that you don't have rough days at work where you would just like to get on your favorite game, not Street Fighter, not freaking some dumb game that's just a throwaway game, get on your favorite game that you love to play on your character with your class, your baby, and just kill a couple of people.
Or try to. What do I do on my days where I have a bad day?
Can I field this? Can I handle it?
Yeah, you can field. Yes.
On those days, Nathan, where I am pissed off from work and I come home, there is no greater feeling than taking down a raid boss with my group of friends.
But how do you know they're online and available at that time?
Because they're my group of friends. And I know when they're on. Come on.
No, I'm going to be honest with you, Nathan. No, it doesn't even cross my mind.
If I'm in a murderous mood, I would go and have a rampage on GTA or another game of that sort. That's not what I come to these.
And there's nothing that soothes me more than hanging out with my friends, and that's in real life. And that's in real life, and that's in MMOs, and people may laugh at me for this, but that's become
other people with.
That's what I like to do,
bro.
Florida man tag teabags.
That's too good.
Oh, that's too perfect. That was too good.
No, Nathan, I'm gonna be honest with you. There was a time the best that I've ever played a game competitively was NHL 2K. It was on Xbox. It was probably like 2K2, 2K3. I don't remember. That was the most competitive I've ever played a game.
Wait, what game again?
NHL 2K, like 2K.
Oh.
I played it very competitively, and so it came out on Xbox Live, and I was ranked number 2 in the world.
What kind of spells did you have?
Slapshot. So
Minus.
Listen, hold on.
Minus.
I played that game hardcore, right? I played it hardcore. So
this is your
I was ranked. Yeah, it is. So I was ranked. I think I was number 2 overall in the world. And the guy ahead of me was like, and I played it right from day one. So he was like 83 in 2 or 3. That was his record, like 83 and 2 online. And I was about second place, but I was like 59 and 2 or something like that. That was my record. So, and this is, I think maybe this is the cause and root of my hate of leaderboards in PvP. But so what I'm playing, I'm like, wow, I'm really good at this game. I'm going to keep playing. The only reason this guy's ahead of me is because he's played more than me. So I'm going to keep playing. Right. So I go to bed. I'm number 2. He's number 1. I log on the next day and I am like 10,000. And the
Oh,
reason I'm
geez.
10,000th is because
Get good.
somebody figured out.
Why'd you go to sleep, man?
Somebody figured out that if at the end of the game, when it showed the score and you could hit exit, if you kept hitting start, you got to win every time. So they just kept hitting start. So I log on to the guy ahead of me had 82 wins and I had 59, and that was we were the top two from a win percentage, and we had the most games played with that win percentage, to logging on to 10,000 wins.
Wow.
And it was at that point and this stuck with me. That person at the top of the leaderboard literally was like, "Oh, I'm number one." You're not. But the game is recognizing you as number one, and you have the right to say you're number one, and you're a piece of shit.
But it's wrong. Yeah.
What does that have to do with PvP and?
Because in MMOs, majority of the time you play a class you love, a spec you love, and you tackle the PvE content, and you fight the world created for you. And in PvP, you play what's most powerful or not broken. If you're a competitive PvP player, you will not play the broken.
See,
PvP.
you're saying things that only relate to Warcraft, though, because that's not true in ESO, and that's not true in Dark Age of Camelot. People just play.
In every game I've played, and there's broken classes for PvP. No game's ever balanced it.
There is.
Oh, I'll agree with that. There's always an edge, but that's definitely by far not
if they don't
the overwhelming.
If they don't balance PvP on that PvP server, we all know that rogues are going to destroy everybody.
Yep. Stealth gives you an instant heads up in PvP. Hands
Death
down, no matter the balance around it. Yeah.
If they don't balance it, that server is going to be 7 million rogues. Now, like summoners and stuff like that would be strong.
Okay. Stealthers always have an advantage, and they typically win when you fall for their bullshit. But the thing is, and I know we're talking about Pantheon here, and what I'm talking about doesn't even relate, right? But it's all hypothetical. But like, okay, I got to go back to Dark Age Camelot, right? There are stealthers everywhere, and same thing with ESO. Stealthers just waiting, just sitting there, camping the spot, waiting for some douchebag to run through their perfect little area so they can backstab them and kill them immediately, which was true in Dark Age of Camelot too. But here's the deal. You knew that. You knew when you went out in the frontiers, there was you just expected them everywhere. Every step you took.
Alert.
Yeah, so you were super alert, but here's the deal. You made sure, just like in PvE, where you come prepared, you had to be prepared for that too. So you made sure you had somebody like a Reaver or somebody with a constant AoE, and they were screwed. They would see that guy coming and be like, no, back up. I see his ability going off. He'll catch me. It'll unstealth me, and they'll beat the living crap out of me. Now, at the same time, a really good stealther would pick people off. In other words, he would see like a couple of guys, maybe because their internet connection or whatever, lagging a little bit behind, and he would grab one, and he would be outside of that guy's AoE. Hey, that's a good stealther. Good job, dude. You got me.
So we're talking about that's a balance. That's typically a balanced PvP.
The AC was pretty freaking balanced.
Pretty balanced. So in an imbalanced, those roles are kind of thrown out, and then the other, and all it's going to create is angry people. So the people who are kicking ass are going to be happy, but you're literally creating toxicity. And then I have to blame Pantheon. I have to blame Brad. Brad, you created this. And that's where it's hard for me. Yeah, it's hard for me to...
I just do not agree with that, Minus. There's toxic PvEers. There's toxic people.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
What are you talking about? I've never seen one. Prove it. Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong, yes.
Do you have a screenshot to back that up?
So-and-so has left the group at the beginning of a key run. You guys died once. You all suck.
But I don't know. Nathan?
So look,
Cover
here's
this,
the
would
deal.
you?
Here's the
Nathan,
deal.
handle this guy.
And I'm only going to fold on this one thing. It's not PvP that's the problem. It's that is the game developed for PvP?
You can't
and
put it in if you're putting it in because people want it, but you don't care about it. You're putting it in, and listen, you guys know how much I love Pantheon. You know how much I want to play it. It's the one category where I ask, are they putting it in to grab people as a cash grab?
Are you just doing this to maybe get some extra subs? If so,
it's the wrong decision. It's just as bad as loot boxes.
Here's the deal, guys. I don't think they're doing it for free loot. I think that they're doing it because they feel obligated, because it's expected to have some kind of PvP in it, and it is an afterthought, and it's not. It's gonna kind of suck. So if anybody's watching this, just go ahead and be prepared. The PvP is gonna suck at first. Give them a little time. Let them collect some data.
We don't know.
They're not going to do a beta and be like, we're doing a PvP beta this week, guys.
Can you imagine day one PvP?
We're going to test out the PvP.
What would be wrong with VR adding PvP to attract more people to play their game, though?
It's because...
It's true. I mean, no, honestly, I want more people to play. It's just...
Sure.
Here's the thing.
You don't want the wrong people.
When I'm leveling up and I'm getting my new abilities, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, this is a badass PvP ability, and I cannot wait to do some PvP with this.
Yeah.
My question is how, what are you, at this moment, and I say that because everyone can point at me and laugh. At this moment, what are you thinking of playing in Pantheon? Def.
Paladin.
Warrior.
Okay. So if it's not balanced, there is no way in hell, and I'm saying this so people can trash me, there's no way in hell you'll be able to stand up to an enchanter.
Or a monk, because I have self-heal and you don't.
Or
all the classes aren't finished yet. So
no, I get it, yeah.
What if warriors get spell reflect and that enchanter wants to cast mez or whatever? Then you mez the enchanter.
Good point.
Here's the deal, guys.
Warrior, you got shield wall. How badass would that be?
But anyway. True. That'd be great for PvP. So here's the deal, guys. And I'm just going to be honest, and this hurts my feelings to say. Pantheon is going to launch, and there will be a PvP server. They said there would be. There will be.
Do you think it's going to close?
It's going to suck, dude. It's going to be garbage. It's going to be full. Here's what I hope, actually. Here's what I hope. Are you posting this on Reddit?
Yeah.
Great. So listen up, Reddit. All you toxic ogre cleric, all you terrible human beings that
Reddit,
are
I love you,
the worst humans of the earth. Go ahead and join the PvP server, because you can be around people just like you.
Please
go. Have fun. Join up the PvP
Please
server
don't play
immediately.
on my server.
Jump on. Just have a blast hanging out with a bunch of toxic ass.
Take out your rage and teabag other players.
Yes, it's for you, baby. Go for it. Go. Immediately. Have fun. I wish you guys the best of luck. I'll not be there. However, later on, when they release an actual... If they ever do, and they may not, and that's okay. If they ever release an actual focus, like they talked about, something with some keeps to take, or evil versus
will that
good,
affect PvE?
Because there's a goal. You work towards it. You have a team.
I understand that, but because you brought that up earlier, and I wanted to talk about that, like the taking keeps and taking areas.
Sure.
So if they put that in the PvP server, do you really think they'll put so much time into a mechanic that's only going to be on a couple servers? So if they make it, it's going to have a PvE reflection too. And what's that going to look like?
I think they're going to have their own team on that, right?
Yeah. It'll be a couple of people. It won't be a big project. Yeah. It'll just be like, let's tag this on. Let's see how it works out.
That's a huge
Not
project.
necessarily.
To make it areas that you take over?
No. Let me explain why that's not that big of a deal. You make it to where basically whoever kills and once again, it's PvE based, except for people can defend it. Whoever takes over the raid leader. Well, whoever takes over the raid leader, that keep, gets that keep. However, of course, the opposite team, if they don't want to lose it, they'll be there to defend it. So it'll be mixed PvP. PvE is easy at that point. So it's all about the people defending it. And then you kill that raid leader of that keep, you take the keep. It's really not that difficult to add things like that. What you have to balance, the balance is where everything goes crazy. Balancing the classes and trying to make everybody feel like it's fair. And I don't think they give a crap, dude. It's going to be more like Dark Age of Camelot, where it was kind of balanced. It was decent, probably the best maybe ever. But, dude, I was a paladin, dude, and paladins were terrible at PvP, period. People would say, you're going to be terrible, right? Yeah, I know, but this is what I like to play. Okay, cool, let's go. You're going to die.
I just think you're such in the minority there.
I am. But dude, there was tons of other. This was a long time ago too.
Yeah.
I don't know how fair it is to talk about something going on in 2002.
That's the difficulty.
2003.
That's the
Yeah,
difficulty.
and that's where the issue comes into play here.
Right,
It's going to be 2019 with a new game that's focusing on community and old school experiences, bringing in PvPers. That's going to be a cluster.
Now, putting them on their own servers, like you guys have both said, is probably the best way to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, have fun, Reddit.
Reddit already hates us so much.
No, I think the PvP server is the ultimate way, as Nathan said it, is let everyone who's gonna be an issue go there. Give me a /duel feature and I'm content. That's all I want.
And I'll just
I duel you on everything we play.
Duel is so fun. Are you saying Duel's not fun, Minus?
I don't enjoy it.
Oh, come on.
The only duel that I remember ever is I was a paladin healer and I fought a shaman healer, and it went on for about
6
2
years?
hours, and we quit.
It actually still going on to this day.
Yeah, I just put a macro.
They're on break for now, yeah.
And it was funny because we were standing on 2 logs, and, like, fighting each other, like trying to make it epic. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, run away. He's like, no, you run away. I'm like, I'm not running away. I don't give up.
That's awesome.
So let's do this. We've been talking for about an hour. I'm not going to cut this video down too much. So everyone out there is like, you guys made an hour-long video. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So here's what we'll do. Let's do like a closing statement. Everyone will be uninterrupted. This is what I think about PvP, and here's how I think it should be done in Pantheon, and here's what my concerns are, or positive, what you want to see. If you want, I'll go first to kind of, if you guys don't kind of know what you want to say, I can go first, or Nathan, you can go first. What do you want to do?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to close it up like this. My biggest thing is that overall arcing, I do strongly believe that a majority of the toxic player base comes from the PvP crowd, because the PvP crowd is a direct representative of what esports culture has become, and this generalization that gaming is now becoming a sport, which I'm a sports fan and I'm a gamer. I'm a huge gamer, and I do not mix the two. Gaming is not a sport. I'm sorry. I don't. It's not something that I think it's crushing the industry. This drive of competitive gaming is destroying the industry. Fortnite just took a huge hit because they tried to do something better for their game. Now no one's playing it. World of Warcraft changes things. It crushes the PvE game. The game's falling apart. I have never seen a game last long enough. League of Legends got destroyed. Dota got destroyed. The toxic crowd that it breeds, I just don't think is a good thing for MMORPGs. Simple as that. And the last thing I'll say is this. I have to say that the only negative thing I can say about VR and their vision with Pantheon is that you have given people in mass majority, there's going to be a ton of people, you have given them a reason to join a server you're creating and complain about class balance. Even though you say it's not going to be balanced, they don't care. You've given them a forum to say, well, if you created this, why is it this? And it's going to create an overarching theme that when people are reading forums, reading Reddit, and you're coming in and saying, I want to play this PvE Community Matters game, I want to see about it, I'm going to go to these popular formats and media, and I'm going to go there and I want to read about Pantheon, but I'm going to have to keep going through all these negative posts about PvP. I'm going to have to go through all these negative posts. You're not doing this right. VR's ignoring our comments. VR doesn't listen to us. And it's all going to be centered around that PvP crowd, and those PvEers are going to have to filter through it so much, just like I had to do in WoW, where none of that mattered to me, but having to sort through it was a dredge, and it just made me be like, oh, I have to keep fighting this negative perception. And I think that Pantheon is creating a negative perception hub for these people. So that's all I'm going to say. Nathan, what's your final comments?
So I will say that it's unfortunate that you've only experienced a kind of PvP where that's how you feel, because I totally understand where you're coming from, because I know what you're talking about. However, if Pantheon ever decides, and I really don't mind if they do or they don't, but if they decide to do a more focused PvP, and I believe they will later on, they'll do it. I'm not talking about free-for-all. That's garbage. I'm talking about something focused, even if it's as simple as good versus evil, Kinos versus Freeport. Even if it's as simple as that, something where we feel like we're part of a team together, it actually unites people much more than PvE ever could, because these are real things you're going against. These are real people. So you actually unite much more so under that banner of your particular types of races or your particular city or whatever, and you're defending that. And that makes you so much more invested in the game, makes you so much more invested in the people around you. And yes, you have arch nemesis. You have people that you keep meeting on the battleground that keep taking advantage of you and your group, etc. And that just creates this real world. Now, I'm okay with Pantheon doesn't do any of this. If they just make a toxic little free-for-all, and all the Reddit users that are toxic, which is 90% of them, and they all go there, that's okay. Just call the server Reddit, all right? And just go ahead. And I won't be there, but I might stop by every once in a while just to see how ridiculous it is and make some videos.
Watch it burn.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I got to say. If you actually focus on PvP and make it a central point and make it about community, and I trust that if Visionary Realms decided to do that, they're the best, they're the kings, they could do it. I don't care if nobody's ever done it before, which I disagree. Dark Age Camo did it before. But if they did, they would be the best at it. So if they decide to tackle that, it will be awesome. If they don't, it will be garbage. That's all.
Yeah.
Let's rotate. Hayah, what do you got? Closing statement.
My final thoughts on this whole discussion is kind of what I said earlier, is give me a /duel feature so I can dink around my friends. That's the extent of what I want from PvP in a video. I'm actually okay if we do what Nathan says and throw all of the riffraff to one server and they're all there. But I also see the minus side of it, where it's like, yeah, and then they're going to bitch, and they're going to bitch loudly about it, and then new players are going to have to sift through it. That's no good either. I don't know what the right way to go about this is, but it's a tricky situation, man. And I just want to play some video games and not have to deal with the crap.
Well said. Daph, you have the closing argument, man.
God.
This is all you, brother. It is time for Daph.
Oh my God, the pressure's on. No, I agree with everybody. There's going to be some bad apples in the PvP community. But like I was saying earlier, I love when I get an ability, man. I love the fact that I'm going to be able to utilize that against another player and piss them off, And I really like the idea Nathan had with, maybe the Freeport versus Quanos thing. Of course, it's going to be Pantheon, but I love that idea that you have an enemy faction that you can go against. And I will say the WoW PvP community was horrible. And it's just something, there's a lot of factors. We don't know what every class has. We don't have a full list of the set in stone abilities and stuff like that. And if it's on a separate server, then I can create another character, and that's my PvP character. But I kind of disagree on PvPers crushing the community. I just do. I know it may have been that way in WoW, but in ESO it's not. It's kind of that open world vibe, kind of like what Pantheon's talking about, where you take over the keep and stuff. That's really engaging. It's working with other people, especially if you're grouping with other friends. You're working together. You're calling stuff out, and there's just the thrill of it. Even if you don't gain a lot from it, the thrill of working together and defeating that enemy team, there's just nothing like it. So, yeah.
And also, Minus, I like to throw out one thing I really should have mentioned in this video. The PvP you're talking about is very linear. It's just people versus people. I don't know if you've ever experienced getting out Warcraft material, the things that should be in World of Warcraft. I'm talking about siege equipment. I'm talking about battering rams to bust open doors. I'm talking about pots of oil burning over the people trying to get the door down. I'm talking about ballistas shooting fireballs into the castle because you can't climb the wall. You don't have enough scouts to get in. You don't have enough rangers
at the top of the castle,
Right. And they're up there shooting down at people. And it's like a real war, dude. But they're all real people. And you're looking around like, wow, this is freaking crazy. These are all, individual human beings making an actual like strategic war. It's beautiful, man. It makes your heart just sing with the beauty of all of your love of medieval fantasy worlds, of Lord of the Rings, of Dungeons and Dragons, of anything fantasy related, and you're there, and you're just one soldier in this beautiful masterpiece of a war. That's where PvP is beautiful.
My first ESO Cyrodiil experience was going over a hill and seeing an entire army with, like you were saying, sieges, and then there's rangers at the top of the keep, and it's like, oh my god, this is like real life, dude. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah, you know, I played on a PvP server. A lot of people don't know that. When I started WoW, one of the first servers, I made a rogue on a PvP server.
PvP bragger over here.
Hated it.
He was number one.
Yeah, definitely. He was number one rogue in Mutilate spec. That wasn't even a Mutilate spec back then. Okay, Nathan, how do people reach you if they want to find
Twitter? Yeah, Twitter, the NathanNAPALM, or YouTube. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Def, how do people see BattleAx content?
YouTube, of course, Twitter, and Facebook.
Awesome. So you can find Pantheon Plus on Pantheon.plus. You can also find these guys on Pantheon Plus. But mainly we tweet out a lot of our stuff. So at Pantheon Plus. For Hayah, you just send a pigeon up to Canada, and it'll find him.
They'll find me. It's fine.
Guys, it's been a blast. It's a longer video, but listen, this is what happens when you get 4 people with a lot of opinions. I think that the community in itself will have a lot of debates that they're going to have with me, with Nathan, with Def, with Hayah. And I think that's what this video is about. Let us know how you feel. I mean, this is a hot topic. And with a hot topic, you're going to have a lot of opinions. And you're going to have strong opinions. And I know that I am very strong opinionated. And you're going to have people that are kind of on the fence. Like, I don't know where I want to be. So we want to hear from all those people. We want to hear, what are your thoughts? Who do you agree with? What are you in the middle? Are you full PvP? Comment below and let us know what you think. This is a community discussion. We started it, but you guys are going to finish it. So thanks everybody for watching. It's a long video. It's a big time investment, but watch it in parts or whatever. And let us know what you think. Nathan, Def, thank you guys for giving us so much time to sit here and kind of talk about a topic that's pretty passionate. I loved it. I love that we were kind of going at each other. Drinks up, although mine's empty. And, another day we'll live on where we'll talk about something else. But great job, guys. Thank you, everybody. Let us know what you think in the comments.